Welcome to the working sample Abandon Hierarchy. In case you want to listen to the German version, please click on the link below. The challenge. Assume you have a directory structure like shown in the picture. Under the directory locations, you have among others directories like Asia, Europe, and so on. So the challenge here is that some countries are in more than one continent, like Turkey or Russia for example. But where do you place files that belong to more than one continent? If you have a file, for example, about Antalya in Turkey, it's easy, you place it under Asia, because Antalya is in Asia. But what about Istanbul? One part of Istanbul is in Europe, the other part of Istanbul is in Asia. It is impossible to distinguish where to put it. So as you can see, for some cases there are no hard and strict rules to follow. Let's have a look at the directory structure. As you can see, the folders Turkey and Russia are both under Europe and Asia. The solution is simple. First you create a neutral directory called Vault in this example, then you create a directory called Turkey inside of Vault. The next step is to create a symbolic link from locations/Asia to Turkey and from locations/Europe to Turkey, like it is shown in the example. When you want to access the file under the directory locations/Vault/Turkey, you can just access it through locations/Asia/Turkey or locations/Europe/Turkey, or you can just access it in a place where it's physically stored. This is /locations/Vault/Turkey. Since we have created the file only one time, the only space that is needed is the size of the file itself plus some extra bytes for the symbolic link. The bottom line is that we have a big advantage because we are just creating a symbolic link from our source place to the target directory. We are not creating symbolic links to each file. Therefore, we are saving a lot of space. Okay, let's have a quick look. As you can see, there are two directories, Asia and Europe. Both are physical directories. That means they really do exist. The next step is that we create a directory called Vault, but you can choose any name, it doesn't matter. And under Vault we create a directory Turkey. Now we are creating some artificial files there, text.txt and text2.txt. Let's create a soft link under Europe to the directory Turkey. You can see in the second line that the link from Turkey to Vault Turkey was created. And when we execute ls Turkey, we see the content of the directory Vault Turkey. Now let's do the same with Asia. As you can see, the link was successfully created. Here you can see how it looks like on a Macintosh. How about a second example, something from computer science? Let's take a look at this structure. We have a subdirectory called computer science. Under computer science we have a subdirectory called programming and a second subdirectory called network. Under the subdirectory programming, we have a subdirectory called network, and under the subdirectory network, we have a subdirectory called programming. Does this sound familiar to you? In my case it does, even though my directory structures are way more complicated than this. You might say that this example is the same as the one before, and more or less you are right. So let's get a little bit more complex here. This example is a little bit more complex, and I'm not going to read you all the name of the directories, but it is more than obvious that this is just an excerpt of the directory structure, and folders like programming would have more programming languages in there. Let's concentrate for a moment at the Java subdirectory. Of course, Java would be divided into more directories like GUI, for example. I don't want to go too deep into the details of Java programming. And here you can see again the challenge. Are servlets and JSP part of web technology, or is it part of GUI technology? Or is it both? I hope I have convinced you that the boundaries are blurred. In this case, I have reached my goal. Fortunately, we can use the same solution as we used before. Again, we're in a situation that the directory can have more than one parent directories, and it's not obvious where we put it. So to make sure the directory is unique and not a duplicate, we need to use the same strategy. As you can see, that even though I didn't draw a very deep directory structure, the example gets very fast, very complex, and it's hard to draw. So now we have reached the end of this presentation, and I would like to thank you for your attention.